Welcome to Releasing Trauma, a Survivor's Podcast. I am your host, Tracy Osborne. I am a survivor of emotional bullying, rape, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and grief. After losing my husband in 2019, I set off on a new adventure to help other women release their trauma and create a life they can cherish. Each week, I will feature a guest expert or survivor to share their stories, tips, wisdom, and more. The goal is so that you can take away even just the smallest nugget of information you can use in your life right now to make a change, and to remind you that you're not alone. There is life after trauma, and you can move from victim to thriver and create a life you can cherish. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Tracy Osborne. With me today is Tiffani Patlan, and we are going to be talking about unlocking your ability to heal. Welcome to the show, Tiffani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to share my message with the world.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you, and I'm so delighted I can give you that opportunity. So let's get started. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about your backstory?
Sure. I'm sure, like many of us, we've all gone through some sort of pain or trauma in our lives, right? So I'm sure many can relate. But I was actually raised in a toxic environment, experiencing mental and physical abuse. I did not develop self-worth, self-love, nor having encouragement, healthy communication, or even that much affection. So that's the household that I grew up in. There was a lot of sibling rivalry, but to the point where in my mind, it was abuse because I was constantly tormented by my brother. He had been told at too early of an age, that his biological father, that my biological father was not his, and that hurt him. And as he was so young, he didn't know what to do with that, all those feelings and emotions. So he took it out on me. So by age 11, I had a really hard time finding my identity, struggled to have a relationship with my mom. And that's when I started self-mutilating. She kicked me out of the house. I was barefoot, hopped the wall. Didn't want anybody to see me because I wasn't dressed properly. And I just saw some broken beer bottles in the ground and picked them up and just decided to carve in my arm, "I hate mom." And that just goes to show you like how much I was in pain. But nobody knew. Nobody could see that. And then come the following year, I was incestuously raped at age 12 by my 23-year-old cousin. And I was also molested by my uncle during that same family visit to Texas when my parents sent my older brother and I there to go visit with family. I didn't know that this was going to happen to me. I was really confused. I tried to speak up. My voice fell on deaf ears. And needless to say, they basically kind of got away with what they did. I was even blamed. I actually tried to speak up to tell one of my aunts, and she actually told me it was my fault in a sense because that's what you get for staying up late. Like you shouldn't be staying up so late. And now I know that that was wrong. I experienced severe bullying in school because I wore glasses and I wasn't allowed to wear makeup like the other girls did. So that was really rough for me. By age 14, I was already in a sexually active relationship with my school-age boyfriend. I had already experienced smoking cigarettes, weed, meth, and alcohol. I was admitted into a mental hospital, which my parents removed me after only 2 weeks, then lived with another cousin who incestuously raped me while I lived there. His brother did the same thing to me while I was left alone with him at my parents' home. So it's like these bouts of sexual abuse just seemed to follow me no matter where I went. And it seemed like there was no one around to ever stop the abuse. And because of my mother's actions, I found myself in a sexually active relationship at the age of 14 with a 32-year-old man. I wanted to spend time with her, bought concert tickets. My father dropped us off. Next thing you know, we're getting into this truck with these strange men, going to a casino. I'm popping some pill this guy gave me. We're at their house. And I'm watching my mother lay on this bed with this strange man. And I'm just standing there. Kind of felt like an idiot. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. So I mocked her. I copied her. I walked around to the other side of the bed and I laid on the bed on the other side of this guy because I was mocking my mother. Yeah, that was not right. Then the roommate, conned me to go to his room. And I don't really remember what happened after that, but I ended up being in this kind of steady relationship with this guy, playing house with him and his two young kids. My parents then eventually got divorced, going their separate ways, and I was pretty much left to fend for myself. I found myself homeless. I had nowhere to go and lay my head. I was starving. I had no money or food to eat. I would be cold at night. I had nothing to shield me from the weather. And as I walked the streets of Las Vegas, I remember I was constantly cursing God. Like, there's no such way he exists. And if he does, damn him, because there's no way that a God could exist that could allow these horrific things to happen to me. Like, I was just wondering what it is that I did to deserve all this. I just didn't understand. And all this upbringing of mine pretty much left me to believe that I was cursed with beauty. I hated the way that I looked. I hated it because it felt like, because of the way that I looked, that it was like a bullseye for men to just come and find me. Not to mention I wasn't being protected. I was literally walking around the streets of Las Vegas. And so I was, prey, just walking around, and men would always find me and men would always abuse me. So that's where I developed this lie of my circumstances, which wasn't true, but that's what I believed at the time. And it felt really real. And because with all the adults that were around me, and since nothing was ever done to stop this abuse, it just confirmed that lie that I created in my head, that I was not worthy, I didn't matter, I was put on this earth to be abused, and it was all a lie. But I truly believed that. And that's why I would cut myself. That's why I would, drink and abuse drugs. I didn't care about myself. It seemed like nobody else cared about me. So I didn't think or even know to care about myself. And the remainder of my life pretty much just consisted of being in and out of toxic relationships, abusing drugs and alcohol at every whim, just to numb that pain that I was carrying. I eventually experienced a miscarriage, which was really hard, but it kind of woke me up. In a strange way, I feel like God was almost teaching me a lesson, like saying, Tiffani, if you're not careful, you will get pregnant. Do you really want to get pregnant and have this schmuck as your husband, as the father of your child? Like, I really believe that I was being taught a lesson. But so I agreed to have this baby, but I miscarried. And so it straightened me up a little bit. I knew I didn't want to have a baby with this guy, but he still wasn't strong enough to leave the relationship. So he was able to forcefully impregnate me 3 times, in which I opted for an abortion. And I'm so happy to report that I just recently healed from that, like just this past Saturday. That was a painful part of my story that I didn't think that I would ever be able to forgive myself for. I now know, I'm fully informed of the procedure and what happens. And I wasn't back then. Not to say that I would have made the same decision. I don't like to say that, because I do believe that things happen for a reason. So I do lay out the details of abortion in my book, because I feel like every woman has the right to be fully informed, and then they make a decision that they feel is right for them.
Sure.
And for me, it was just, I had so much guilt and shame around this. And I had a Reiki healing session on Saturday, and I was able to heal from it. And it was the most beautiful thing in the world. I imagined spending time with each baby on my lap, and they were just looking at me so sweet and beautiful and smiley and happy and innocent. And I was able to tell each one, I love you, thank you for your forgiveness, and I'm so sorry. And they just, flew up into like, they looked like those cute little chunky, naked Cupid angel babies. That's what it looked, my babies looked like. And it was just so beautiful. And each baby, after I got to spend time with them, would fly up around me. And I just felt like, wow, like I can now imagine this when I think about this story. And sure enough, I'm talking about this part of my story, and that's what I'm thinking of. And I'm actually smiling. Whereas before I would cry because it hit a part of me that was so hurt, that was so distraught. So I'm so happy to share that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I was extremely codependent back then. My OCD was like through the roof. My PTSD nightmares were so brutal. I feel bad for my boyfriends that I had at the time, because they got the brunt of it, I'd wake up screaming, yelling, crying. I felt like the person that was hurting me or raping me was in front of me, and I just wanted to hurt them and fight back, because back then I suffered tonic immobility, which is similar to when an animal plays dead. And many women who are raped experience that. And it's not that you don't want to fight back. And it's not that you don't, that it's not like you don't want it to stop. You're just frozen. And that's what would happen to me. That happened to me the very first time. And every time after that, when I would find myself in a position where I was about to be sexually abused, my body would go into that same, plain dead stance, and I would just be frozen, which in a sense made it more easier for these men to sexually abuse me, because I wasn't strong enough to fight back. And my anxiety disorder prevented me from doing like the simplest things in life: pumping gas, going to a new church. I couldn't even bring myself to go inside the building. I would be scared, trembling in fear, crying, and it was really difficult. My depression made it easy for me to abuse the drugs and alcohol. And I faced several trips to juvenile hall, which eventually led up to jail time. I was just a lost, abused girl struggling to find my way. Yeah. And my parents instilled education in me. And so I think that's what I stuck to. And my father taught me a good work ethic. So I think I hung on to those things. And that's what really brought me through, even though I was struggling. I was trying to work and get a job to support myself, but, oh, you're not old enough, so you can't use this cutting machine until you're 16, which it gets paid more money. So I had a lot of struggles in that sense. I didn't have a car. It was hard for me to go to school, and I was trying so hard. But eventually I got there. I was able to get my GED, and then I ended up getting my associate's degree. I got my bachelor's degree. And then I went on to get a dual master's in project management and business administration. And it was a struggle, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had to retake a couple classes during my associates because I would show up drunk. Sometimes I would skip because I was too hungover. But then I ended up getting pregnant in 2007. And after I had, those abortions, I promised that I was going to be more safe and not so promiscuous, and actually take care of myself and just be more safe, because I never wanted to experience an abortion ever again. So that's what I did. When I found out that I was pregnant with my baby, even though as shameful as it is, I did not know who the father was. It could have been out of 3 people. Well, actually 2. The one, he had a vasectomy, so he got his sperm count and it wasn't him. My ex-boyfriend said that he would stay with me if it was his. So he stayed with me during that time while I was pregnant. But then after the fact, when the baby was born, we did a test. Turns out it wasn't his. He said it was too hard for him. So that just tore my world upside down. Started drinking again. But it's weird. It's like I was a functioning alcoholic. I took care of my baby. I would drop him off wherever I could. I had so many different friends that were helping me take care of him, or a daycare. There was a time when my mother was helping me when she had a steady relationship with the man I like to call my stepfather. His name is Vern Bradley. He's amazing. He's actually the one that helped me pay for my GED because I couldn't afford it. It was $50. And he gave me a $50 bill for Christmas. That was really nice. So it was a struggle, but I got through it. There's times when I'd be bringing my baby in school with me in the carrier, make sure he had a fresh diaper, fresh bottle, and I would just bring him. And I didn't know if they were going to tell me I couldn't, but I didn't care. I just tried and nobody said anything. So I was able to get through school, and I'm so thankful for that. It's also where I met my current husband. He was my then boyfriend. And it's true when they say that you attract other people that are in the same, life space that you are. And it's safe to say that I was pretty broken. I had never gotten any real healing done. So I was harboring a lot of pain still. And my husband, he himself was harboring a lot of, hurt and pain from his own past. So we were a match made in heaven. Yikes. So it was really struggling. We struggled. We had so many ugly fights, broken up, back together, this, that, and the other. And eventually, little by little, we started healing. We started going to counseling. We started getting help. And we've just gotten better and better and better. And I can tell you today, we are the happiest that we've ever been. We've come so long, but it was definitely a struggle. And
Wow.
yeah, and I even had, it actually came back. You think, oh, we're doing so good. Everything's gravy now. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong because we moved out here in Utah in, what was it? I forget when, but it's been about 3 years. And in 2019, around winter, I remember experiencing those winter blues, which guess what? It brought back my depression that I thought I had escaped. And that was really hard. We were struggling financially. We had just bought a house here in Utah. We just moved. Things were really, really, really hard. I think perhaps he might have been having his own issues as I was, and it was just really hard. And it got to the point where we took a little break. He went to California and I stayed back, but I had to try to create a small business to go hustle as a vendor to sell product to make money to be able to feed my kids because it got that bad. And while my husband was in California, and what helped me, it's so strange. And I've told my husband this, even as bad and as ugly as that fight was, had he not gone, I never would have been left alone to face my fear because I had that debilitating anxiety, right? And I had to go sell as a vendor, dealing with new people, a new place, setting up all by myself without my husband as my crutch, so I had to face my fear and do this. It was either that or allow my children to starve. And of course, I'm not going to do that. So, I faced my fear, and that taught me such a huge lesson that everything is okay, that it was like a fake phantom fear. It was like a lie that I created in my head. And I that's the way I explain my anxiety disorder, is because it's fake. It's a lie. It's not even real because I knew the fear was there. I walked through it, came out on the other side, and everything was fine. Nothing was wrong. And that helped me when there was a female entrepreneur conference that following February of 2020. It was here in Utah, up north, about an hour away. So it was a new place. So having to do these vendor events prior kind of warmed me up for this. I decided to go, was going to go be 100% by myself, not even have my son as my crutch, my teen, like just me solo, brand new place, driving in the snow. I was scared, but I knew that something good was going to come out of it. I didn't know what, but I trusted that. I went, and sure enough, I met my book coach, Christine Gale. And I never thought that that was ever going to be a possibility for me in my entire life. And I've been wanting to write a book for like the past 10 years because, well, not for the reasons why I wrote it now, which is to help other people. Back then, my mentality was just like, yeah, I've been through so much crap. I'll just put it in a book. That should be entertaining. But now, I really want to share my story because even though as dark as it is, I feel like a lot of people could resonate to at least one incident, if not more.
Sure.
And if they could see that I was able to make it through, then perhaps that could give them hope to inspire them that they too can rise above their darkness. It's possible and it's true and it can happen for you, just like it happened for me.
Wow, that is an amazing story. So unlocking your ability to heal. What are some of the tips that you have in your book for our listeners that can help them to unlock their ability?
Well, it's my philosophy is that in order to unlock your ability to heal, you need those three main keys. And it's to focus every single day on your mental health, your physical health, and your spirituality. So if you don't focus every day in those three areas, you will be kind of like off balance. Because when we focus in those three areas, that's when we start to live in alignment. That's what I noticed. I'll share my trifecta that I like to call it. It's when I will go outside, because just being outside connects you spiritually. And when you're connected spiritually, you feel really good. So you have a really high vibration. And what better time than then to state some affirmations? There's so much power in your words. And I, state a lot of gratitude, affirmations. And I'm so grateful to be in the space that I am. I'm so grateful for my healing. I'm so grateful that I'm in this space I am to be able to help other people heal. just whatever you're grateful for. And I'm walking. So by walking and being out in the sun, that's all supporting me in a physical sense. So I always say, find your own trifecta that works for you, adopt that one, play around with it. So in the book, I do have this wellness section. So there's 3 parts to it. One is for your mental health, physical health, and spirituality. And each one has several different things that you can, utilize every single day. Try what and see if it works for you. There's something about self-awareness. How can you change your behavior if you are not aware of it? So practicing self-awareness is really a good one. Managing your emotions. You need to start questioning why it is that you respond the way that you do. And notice, when you're not responding the right way. When you get excessively angry and you probably shouldn't have. When you yelled and you probably shouldn't have, or this, that, and the other. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be honest with yourself, spend time with yourself and ask yourself, why did I feel that way? Why did I do that? And a timeline is really good for that. To find areas where you might have suffered some pain or trauma and you could benefit from healing that. Writing a timeline out of all the different events of your life and just sitting there with yourself and just thinking, reminiscing. And if you notice that there's a part in your story that, causes you to feel pain or sadness, that's a really good sign that you could benefit from healing. So that's a couple of them for the mental health. And for the physical health, it's about, learning your body type. There's a somato body types, about the endomorphs, mesomorphs. And that helps you with just learning more about what kind of foods your body would thrive on. Same thing with the ALCAT testing. Like there's people that say, oh, you have to eat your fruits and vegetables. Well, yes, you should eat your fruits and vegetables. But if you and I both ate an apple, it's possible that I might be allergic to it and your body, you might thrive on it. But I'm over here having, this crazy allergic reaction. So
right.
Why it's so important to get an LCAT test, because it's a blood test. It's like your own customized menu of what you can eat and what foods your body thrives on. So that's a great tool. And that's actually in the program that I offer as well. There's also muscle testing. You can actually do this yourself. It's a great tool to use. It's where you basically communicate with your own subconscious mind, because when we experience trauma or pain and we don't heal that, we suppress it and it lives within our subconscious. And that's where we respond from when things happen.
Right.
And then I have more about the spirituality piece where, meditation, traveling, gardening, earthing, also known as grounding, just things like that. So it has different things like that in all parts of the book. So you could pretty much create your own customized trifecta or try them, and just see what works for you. It was just really important for me to not just share my story to inspire people, but to also give them something to help them do something right then and there to start practicing.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Tiffani, how can we find you? How can we get a copy of your book?
Right now, you can find my book on Amazon. I'm so happy to announce it reached Amazon bestseller. So I'm so grateful for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so just happy. I'm just so grateful, full of gratitude. It's my passion. Through healing, I found my life's purpose. And my life's purpose is to just help people heal. And if you want to learn more about the work that I do, you can visit me at tiffanipatlan.com.
Fantastic. And listeners, you know the drill. I will have all her links down on the show notes. Go to releasingtraumapodcast.com, pull up Tiffani's episode, and all her contact information and the link to her book will be there. Tiffani, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. That was very brave and courageous, and quite the story. You've been through some stuff, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I just want everybody out there to remember, no matter what it is that you've gone through in life, you can rise above it.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you in the next show.